The highly talented and attractive Pisces, how are you? Great to see you. Come on in, make yourself comfortable. Look, I think this is going to be a great month for you. December. I had some bad news. Earlier today, I was asked to come into a local hospice by a family to speak with a lady who was about to cross over and give her some comfort and solace before the next stage of her journey. And I got the call on the way back that she had crossed over, and so it's very difficult for families when they lose someone that's so close to them, that's been in their lives for so long. I mean, you may well know that yourself. But anyway, let's hope, well, it's not a question of hoping, let's hope that they have our good intentions behind them to grieve and to recover. But they should have the knowledge that it's just another stage, it's just shedding a skin and going on, and they will see her again. They're going to see her again a number of times and in a number of different forms. I'm going to use a deck this month. I don't normally do this, but there's a deck which has been painted by a young artist in San Francisco called Eden Gallanter. And she calls this deck the Cheminée Tarot. And I don't normally mention artists or decks, but this one, but in this case I will, because young artists often have a hard time to recover financially an amount which is equal or to the great joy that they give us from the work that they produce. So there may be, if you're interested in getting hold of her, Eden Gallanter in San Francisco. But this deck has, for me, a great resonance. I have a great affiliation with it. I get very good results from it. It's razor accurate. So it just seems to be that artist, Eden Gallanter, and I consciously just seem to be on this. I don't know her, but we just seem to be, we've just had a couple of emails that passed. I just seem to be on the same wavelength as her, or whatever is in the imagery that she has produced just triggers within me and invokes the forces that permit the prediction of your future. So I still don't know how it works, but it does. Now, let us see what there is in store for you. Firstly, let me do the shamanistic practice of the hands of the Enterer over this deck so that spirit may descend. And it has done so. And so here we are, we're ready to start. So show me the cards that my friend here needs to see so that I can pass on the messages to be given. So, what is there here? Come on, let's see who's coming. We don't want to wait any longer with bated breath, lest we suffocate. You have come out, whoever you are. The Five of Staves, as Miss Gallanter has entitled it in her deck. Oh, there's the Eight of Cups. I don't get it, there is a real energy around this December. There's a real energy. There's something going on this December because that's all I'll say. There's just something going on. Here's this Eight of Cups. There's the Devil. Well, that's always a good card, the Devil. You can sometimes be a bit of a devil, can't you? Let's have a look. Let's see, this one, excuse me, the Seven of look, there is something going on. There's something going on, the Seven of Staves. And for the final one, okay, here we go. The Ace of Cups. Great. Okay, now, it's important that you look at these cards while I provide the reading for you, because the imagery will soak into your psyche. So come down, sit down here next to me. Let's have a look at these cards together, and I'll do the reading for you. Okay, here we go. Now a 5 and a 7 of staves. Ordinarily, 5s and 7s can be difficult. Now, staves are the suit of fire, but I notice in this top line here we have cups, the suit of water. That's an 8 of cups, which is actually a good card for you in this spread in its position. That water acts to neutralize the difficulty which may come up with the 5. And this water ace, this beautiful ace card here, acts to neutralize this fire, this 7 of fire that comes down. But let's look at them anyway to see what they have in store. They're here for a reason, and let's see why they're here. Well, here we have a man who is, well, he's wrestling, it seems, with a number of staves, almost like branches of the sea, aren't they? Or branches of wood, rather, coming up from a sea. There's a sea over here, which we'll get to in a moment. But to me, even though he's in some sort of a... He's not acting like a dancer whatsoever, but he's in a pose which says, I'm dealing with this, but he is in control. Now, I would call him the Lord of Strife. And what is important here is the astrology of this card, quite apart from the fact that this elemental water is seeking to dampen it down. The astrology here is that of Saturn in the first 10 degrees of Leo, that 23rd of July to the 2nd of August, that sort of time frame, that first decade. And I see Mars here with this number 5. Now, I associate the planet Mars with the 5 in this case, in this spread. And Mars has, of course, fiery, impersonal, often very aggressive energy. But Saturn in Leo, well, Saturn and Leo really don't sit well with one another as a general rule. They just don't. That's just the way it is. Because Leo wants to be creative and express itself, while Saturn is cold and dense and wants to set boundaries and limits, doesn't it? You're probably familiar with astrology at large. Now, Leo here is in a fire suit, being the suit of staves, and added to by the fiery energy of Mars associated with this number 5 for me from the numerology. What we have is a picture of Saturn coming in to dampen down all of this fire energy. We've also got the water dampening down this fire energy in this card as well. So from an astrological point of view, the planets are in discord. Now, 5s generally relate to instability. They can relate to exaggeration, changes, loss sometimes, but 5s can also relate to a proposal or to an offer that you may make to somebody else, or that somebody might be making to you. So bear that in mind here, bear that in mind. We are having a thought here of some sort of striving, and if we look at the figure in the card, he's doing just that, isn't he? He's striving away with those branches of a tree. Well, I think that what you might find is that you could be in the middle of a conflict or a tension, some tension around something, a matter, and it's really impacting, I think, possibly, as I say, this energy is being weakened in this spread for you this month, but it might well be impacting upon your ability to get something done. But do you know, conflict and aggravation and stress sometimes can have quite a positive effect. They can cause you to renew yourself, to become stronger, to use that great mind of yours to nut out a plan as to how you're going to get what it is that you want. I think that this 5 of Wands here can really point to some sort of competition. Now, it's a competition, I think, which may well be with people who have basically the same sort of skills and attributes that you do, or competition who may look the same way as you. Now, you are a very attractive person. And let's face it, Pisces women are just beautiful beyond belief. But what can happen is that, particularly in those environments where your looks are important, you might find that there are other people around you who also happen to be very attractive. Now, don't mind, because they're obviously not going to be more attractive than you. As I say, a Pisces woman is very hard to beat. She becomes whatever she needs to become in order to satisfy and make whole the partner that she's with. But I think that this competition that's around here is something that you will face. You will know what competition is, and in particular, you will come to know what competition requires. But you are up for it, I think, because this is a card which is saying you're not being defeated here whatsoever. You are in control of the situation. I think that do you know there's an angel, so-called, I call it a center of consciousness. It has a name. It's one of the 72 names of God. It's called Jerethel. And Jerethel is one of the names of God, and that name substitutes for the word of Lord in a book of the Old Testament, or the Hebrew Bible, in Judeo-Christian and Islamic tradition, called the Book of Psalms. And I'm pretty sure it's Psalm 140, verse 2, which says, "Rescue me, O Lord, from evil men. Save me from the lawless." Now, you don't need to worry about lawlessness around you, but meditating on that verse, 140, I'm sure, verse 2 of Psalms, it will remove the dark beast's presence from your earnings and its destructive influence from your life. The light is now your silent partner. You will be supported by protection. I think also you should have this thought in mind, which is, I am more and more capable now of expressing my feelings and my creativity in my work. Take things step by step, is what I'd say. But this is, in this spread for you, what can otherwise be sometimes a distressing card, I actually think it's very positive for you, because you are going to come out very well as a result of this. Now, interesting, let's have a look at this one, the Seven of Staves. This is in the same suit, and it's also balanced. In this case, it's being balanced by this water card of the Ace of Cups. Now, here we have 7. Now again, 7, as I say, can sometimes prove to be difficult. It can sometimes be quite severe in its application to things. 7s can refer to, numerologically, can be about, introspection, withdrawing, looking in upon yourself, changing minds about things, wondering whether what you're doing is really the right thing to be doing. There's sort of internal thoughts that go on with a person when the 7 appears. But the 7 also does have this benefit to it, is that it refers to an area of divine emanation prior to the emergence of space and time from out of spirit at the behest of the divinity, which refers to moving things forward, to overcoming, to finding a way around things until you actually accomplish and achieve the things. And in a nutshell, it actually refers to victory in a way, although many people don't see that in this card, but I certainly do, and where it is presented in this deck for you. Here we have Mars in the 3rd decan of Leo this time, at 13th to the 22nd of August. And here we have, again, the suit of fire, and here we have the 7. Well, the 7 is a long way away from the ace. I mean, this 5 was closer to the ace of staves, but the fire energy is starting to become weakened somewhat this far away from the ace. And this 7, when I say it refers to victory and to that area of divine emanation, do you know what planet I have associated with it from a mystical sense? It is the planet of Venus, and Venus is about love, beauty, relationship, and money and business, and all the beneficial things which go along with that. So for me, it's also a very feminine planet, Venus. So I think we have Mars in Leo in this fire suit, and we have this feminine planet of Venus. But I think what happens is that Venus further dilutes the strength of the fire which originated in the ace as it makes its way down here. Now, I said before that Saturn and Leo don't really get on all that well together, but Mars and Leo generally do. They seem to find common ground in an esoteric sense. But in this case, being so far down in the 7, that harmony that I would normally expect to be there doesn't, I don't think, really exist. And the feminine energy of Venus associated with the number 7 in numerology, well, that doesn't sit well with Mars at all. Mars and Venus don't get on. They are a problem for one another, by and large. And I think what may be happening here is that you might well think, and of course it's this time of year where you've got things, a million things going on at the same time, but you may well think that it is pretty well only your Mars energy that is keeping you going in something. But I'm invoking some thoughts now from the imagery which I see on this card, and here we have 7 staves which are growing from the sea, from directly out of the sea, and here is, well, I assume it might well be the Queen of Staves floating above the sea. And you know what? I actually think that these staves are alive. They are, if you like, branches or trees, these wands, otherwise known in other decks. And I actually think that they are alive and that they are going to produce foliage, produce leaves, and that they are going to produce fruit. So I think that there are things which are yet to come for you. As I say, you may well think that it is your Mars energy that's the only thing that's keeping you going. You may well think that in relation to, because you've got so much on your plate, that you think, oh my God, I'm on a sinking ship, or I'm not going to get all of this done. It's a losing battle that I'm trying to get over here. But I think that this is actually a very fruitful card in this spread, and it's, as I say, it's being influenced tremendously by this Ace of Cups here, and also by the energy of this Devil card, which is here as well. So I think that this card is actually saying that, look, you may well think that things are difficult for you for a moment, but you are going to overcome them. I think that you should also say to yourself, though, that, and feel free to say, I express my own reality openly and honestly. I think that you could also find that you're coming to the end of your tether in relation to something. And I think that could be, do you know, sometimes when you put everything into, and then sometimes it could be a relationship or into a project. No, I'm getting more of a relationship here. I'm getting more of another person or people acting with you here, where you make it perfectly clear what it is that you need from something. You do what is necessary to try and meet the needs of others, but you're just not getting back what you do need yourself. And I think that you're saying, look, I'm not getting back what I need. Well, it might well be the time for you to just cut your losses and let that thing go. Let those people go, because there are better things in store for you. As I say, these things are going to produce fruit. They are alive and they are growing. And that 7, though sometimes difficult, in this spread I think is good. And I think that the attribution of Venus to it in this position is one which is going to be of benefit to you. It's going to be of great benefit to you. You've got some tremendous cards coming up here as well, by the way. Let's have a look at the devil, shall we? Okay, so here is the devil. Now, well, what a very interesting depiction of the devil card, I must say. It almost looks like a seahorse, doesn't it? Again, that reference to water that is here. There are at the bottom of it what appear to be probably two angels, which seem to be chained, and that chaining is, I suppose, harking back to the Rider-Waite imagery that was around about 100 years ago or something. I don't really ever use the Rider-Waite deck myself. I find it too, in many cases, too dumbed down. I have a really big version which I might use if I'm standing there making a point about a particular card in front of a camera at some time. But here we have the devil. Well, this is the lord of the gates of matter. And when I see the sea here, see, I always have the impression that water actually represents materiality, that water is something that spirit comes into, that, you know, that matter can be changed back into the divine spirit from which it emerged, like changing water into wine. Whenever you see the color red, or discussions of blood or red wine or things like that, you can always assume in sacred literature, at least in the West, that we're talking about divinity. And I think pretty well that whenever we see water, we're talking about matter. And here we have the gates of the Lord of matter, the Lord of the gates of matter, rather. Now, this is really much a very strong Capricorn card. This is talking about your being irresistibly strong. So there you go. That thing that we were talking about there, saying that, oh, look, you need to have some endurance to get through something you might feel as if something is getting you down. I think this is saying here that you are going to be irresistibly strong. So don't have any concerns about it. I think what this is saying to you is that this card really represents, I think, in this position, a tunnel vision. Because the vision of the devil really in this image is usually directed at some sort of a material goal. Now, that can relate to a career ambition, or really just looking after your own best interests, is how I put it. I think we're allowed to talk about that because it's just you and me talking about things here. So I think it's really talking about you looking after your own best interests and serving them. And it really implies, I think, that you can accomplish a lot if you are focused, because the devil is not distracted by other things whatsoever. Now, I've said that astrologically Capricorn is the sign, and Capricorn is the sign of business, of career, of worldly success, and of social standing. So I think social standing and image is going to be important to you during this period. And I think you are going to make a very powerful first impression on people. I think you will present a very good image. Even though you may be in competition with other people in relation to something, you are going to stand out. And the other thing I'll say about Capricorn is that, well, if you think of Capricorns that you know, they're usually pretty hard-working and high achievers, aren't they? And I think that what we have here is that this is going to go well. Now, Saturn, in ordinary astrology, Saturn rules Capricorn, and Mars, that planet of energy, is exalted in Capricorn. Now, Mars also governs your sex drive, so don't be surprised if you have a lot of fantasy or if you have a lot of interest in sexuality during this period. It also governs creative energy. So I think that this has a very strong link here for you with the material side of your life and your self-ambition. Now, I also note that in an ordinary astrology, when you see those YouTube astrologers go and stick that horoscope wheel up on the screen, Capricorn is opposite Cancer on that zodiac wheel, opposite Cancer. And it's at the top, Capricorn, in the winter solstice, right, which is coming up now in December. I won't go into it. There's a fascinating story about the winter solstice and the 25th of December and how many figures had 25th of September as their birthday or assigned to the birthday, such as the Christ figure in Christianity, Dionysus in Greek religion, Mithra out of Persia, and stacks of others. So there is, I think, because Capricorn is here, there is a real link, I think, to what might be called, and I'm not here selling religion, but what it might be called, Christ consciousness. Now, these words come to mind. It is, "Think not to hide from me, O beloved one, in thy grotesqueries. I see thee behind thy mask. It is thy lovely body which I love behind these motley veils, this midnight comedy. For there is none other than thee to my eyes, my taste, and my touch." Yeah, I think that what you're going to have here is also a desire for freedom, party, spirit, freeness. Just watch how much you drink. I think that you may well be drinking quite a lot during this period. And there could be a lot of activity where you will need to invoke the saying that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So good luck in relation to those adventures, I think. I think you'll be handling life from a place of humor and a desire for more stability and grounding. I think you'll have the ability to work hard, but gee, you're going to have the ability to play hard, I think, during this time. You really are. I think you are learning to protect yourself also from the projections and the opinions and the judgments of other people. And I think that's a good thing to be doing. And here we have the Eight of Cups. Well, here is a young person. Is it male or female? I don't know, who seems to be looking rather morose while this fish swims off away from it. I'd look at this Ace of Cups and I'd say that really we have a feeling of, it could be a time where, and it could be as a result of these things that we spoke of before, but you need to understand that you are going to prevail over these. But I'm getting the sort of sense here of you kind of feeling like whether you should give up on something. I'm having Saturn in the first 10 degrees of you. Saturn in the first 10 degrees of Pisces. You know, that 19th to the 28th, or the 29th in the leap year of February, isn't it? Now, Saturn, as we mentioned, is about structure and organization, discipline, heavy energy, responsibility. Whereas you, your sign, are intuitive, spiritual, emotional. And I think what's happening here is that Saturn is coming in and it is deadening the water completely deadening the water of Pisces. And Saturn is trying to dominate and suffocate the joy of Pisces. And there's also the flightiness of Mercury involved here. Mercury, the messenger of the gods, with this number 8. So I see Mercury associated with the number 8. The number 8 also here in this context is about formation as well. So I think you will be making, like you may be having some doubts. You're actually maybe thinking, oh, should I give up on something? But I'm actually thinking you're actually sticking with it and that you've got things to do, because it's about formation that's happening here. And really the overall influence of the planets in Pisces kind of represents dark Saturn with no growth. Now, the other thing is this, that when I see Mercury here, in ordinary astrology, you may well know that Mercury is in detriment in Pisces. So really, you know, you and I, we have a kind of a problem there, don't we, as well? But I will say this again, that this 8, and I've got, notwithstanding the planetary attribution that I give it, I'm actually getting, you know, from this number 8, very strong feelings of manifestation, of practicality, of skill, and of decision. Like, I think you're going to be making decisions, and you're going to push on with things and make them a reality. You know, I think what's important also to understand is that there could be, look, a moment, and well, you can work out how to deal with it, but there could well be a feeling, I think, for 1 or 2 moments where you have some sort of a feeling of stagnation and you kind of lose interest momentarily in friends or in hobbies or things that you like to do. It's almost, and I've got to say it, it's almost like a little bit of self-martyrdom going on here, where you really seek to deny yourself pleasure. Right? This fish here is very reminiscent of you, isn't it? Or it almost could be a stylized dolphin. Did you know that the dolphin is also a symbol for Pisces? Yes, it is. Historically, it has been, and certainly in esoteric astrology. By the by, there is also this feeling I get of you not having get up and go, which could be a reaction to you feeling empty about something that's going on in your life, or feeling that, you know, you can't really push on with things, but, you know, you can do, you know. This is a thing I'm thinking which is coming here as a sort of a warning, which is to say, look, these things which we've spoken about here, yeah, they could be producing a bit of aggravation and of stress. Don't make the mistake of locking yourself away and self-medicating your woes which are imagined or which you feel, because in reality, this is, with this 8 in here, very positive decision-making, practicality, making things happen. And as I say, this is actually a time for you where there's, well, it's a party time, to put it in a nutshell. It's a party time. Sometimes you can be disappointed about the actions of other people, I think, also, but people could have sinned against you, but have no fear of sin. Love a man even in his sin, for that is the semblance of divine love, and it is the highest love on earth. Love all of God's creation, the whole and every grain of sand in it. Love every leaf, every ray of God's light, every animal, every plant. Love everything. If you love everything, you will perceive the divine mystery in things. Once you perceive it, you'll begin to understand it better every day, and you will come at last to love the whole world in an all-embracing love. And that takes us into this card, which of course is the fantastic Ace of Cups. Now, the Ace of Cups is talking to me about new beginnings in relation to your emotional life. But also, it's also about appreciating just the grandeur, just the grace of everything that is around you. I wanted to be loved because I was great, a big man. I'm nothing. Look at the glory around us, trees, birds. I lived in shame. I dishonored it all and didn't notice the glory. I think that this is a great card for family, for friends, for work relationships. The cup of unconditional love is being offered to you. You must drink from it. I think you'll hear of marriage during this time as well. Fantastic card to finish on. That's the way it is for you this month. There we go. December. your December reading. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed giving it to you. Now, don't forget, make sure you check out your 2020 yearly reading. Just search for me, Nigel 2020, in your sign, and you'll get it. I thought you were fantastic during that reading. You were outstanding, and you played your part to perfection. And really, all that remains for me to say is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Until then, bye for now.